Not
here.
today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. But Satan was doing it today.
Welcome to Figuring It Out. We're back after 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We don't have a plan. We're just going in.
We're just diving in.
We're going in on it. Hey, it's been we've been off for 2 weeks.
Whew, it's been 2 weeks
and
too.
It has been a 2, but also I've missed being here.
Yeah.
I've really missed the podcast. I feel like something's been missing from my life. I hope that everybody that listens regularly, it's been missing from their life.
I mean, it's a weird form of therapy for you, really. It could be. Where you
Oh,
get
it
to
really
just an
is.
hour of
It really is. I get
venting
to
and
just
talking.
dump all my thoughts in a place that's to me, it feels like a vacuum. But then on the other side, there are people listening.
Public therapy.
Shouldn't all therapy just be public therapy? We should air it all.
No.
So anyway, Caleb's back here at Mega Desk, and we are ready to roll. I'm excited about we've got some guests ready, like Nate and Rhett. They want to come back.
They sent a text as we're walking in this room.
Did they?
Yeah, they're like, "What happened? We want to be on the podcast."
Yeah. So
Rhett,
Nate, keep listening, man. We're gonna get you guys on again. This one we were just like, we just got to go because we got to get something on the boards because it's been 2 weeks of silence. And if you've been missing us, we have been missing you more. So D-Now happened.
Yeah, hold on. I'm texting Rate now.
The Rate. That's their celebrity couple name. Rate. Net and Rate.
Net and Rate.
But what happened was D-Now happened.
Yes.
And we destroy the podcast booth for D-Now because we use a lot of the same electronic equipment for both.
It was epic, and Caleb just had to borrow all the stuff.
I wish I had the logistical brain that Caleb has back here.
No, you don't. No.
So organized, his list is a mile long of things. I don't even like lists. I don't keep a lot of lists, even though I have a list in front of me, but I don't keep a lot of lists. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants half the time. It gets me in trouble sometimes. That's why I have you.
Because I love a list. That's every Monday when we meet, then I go back to my desk and I draw out my list for the week and I check my boxes. And
here's all the craziness, and you sort of make chaos into something usable. So
try.
It's awesome. It's awesome. D-Now is all. What are your thoughts on D-Now?
So now that I've slept and I feel rejuvenated. It went flawlessly from my.
This was your first D-Now.
This was my first D-Now in this role. I've hosted before,
right?
And then I led a group last year.
Okay, yeah.
But this was my.
But it wasn't in a home. Last year's group was here in house.
Correct.
We didn't go do host homes, so we got to go back to host homes, which was amazing.
Yes, and I hosted.
Special shout out to if you are listening and you hosted a group at your home.
Gosh.
Thank you so much. We got thank you cards coming out to you. It's going to be great.
Yeah, they were the all-stars of the weekend.
Incredible. And they were just all we didn't have one complaint of I don't want to do that. Everybody was just whatever you need.
Yeah, and it was wonderful. And it made it, I told everyone whenever I'd ask them something, be like, you can tell me no. And they're like, no, just send them on, do whatever. Their graciousness helped me phenomenally.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things that's why I am dead serious when I say this is we've got the best student ministry team I've ever assembled in our ministry currently. Everybody is on it because they want to see students reach their potential spiritually. And that's what's amazing. It's it's not a bunch of bodies. I've had teams in the past where it's just a bunch of warm bodies. It's just have somebody in there that makes sure they don't kill themselves or whatever. And we are looking, every person I can say to the name is looking out for the best for these students. And it's really awesome. It's really awesome. So D-Now is, Liberty Worship Collective came in. Man, amazing group of college students.
Yes. And if anybody listening missed that Sunday, go back on the website and watch the live stream from that Sunday morning because they led the congregation. And that's just a little window into what we had all weekend.
Yeah, they were so awesome. And
the greatest people.
And they brought in even their production people that they hired to bring in. Sorry, Caleb, they kind of tossed Caleb to the wind.
I don't mind one bit.
It freed Caleb up a little bit more than he thought.
But
though.
they brought in a group called Overflow from over in Florence. They're in Florence, is that right?
Yeah, one guy that works over there. Yeah.
Okay, and named Xander. Xander was incredible. He was so easy to work with. Like a lot of these people can come in and be prima donnas. Like they need everything in the world, and they're just snarky, or the schedule doesn't just sit right with them. And none of these people were like that. They're like, yeah, whatever you need. So it was amazing. And Pastor Rob Turner from the Bridge.
He brought it.
He's got the most well-manicured mustache.
Glorious.
Just beard and mustache like on level 10.
The whole picture of Rob is just crisp. Like it was crisp.
That's a good way to word it.
The stash, the outfit, just crisp.
He and I, the first night, both wore jean jackets, and I just felt like, I've made it now. I'm like Pastor Rob.
Yeah.
This is my affirmation here. It was good. He was incredible. He was incredible off stage, and he brought some amazing words on stage, which was just great. Heard a lot of good things from students, like students that pre-DNOW didn't even want to come. Parents made them come, and then they ended up with like 5 new best friends, which is always the story.
Yeah.
Rhett and Nate sat here and told us that for a fact, and it's just if you buy in, if you go in on it, and you have at least a little bit of an open mind, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. No youth event is without its issues, but overall, huge win. Getting back to, it just felt like normalcy.
Yeah.
It felt like it was supposed to feel. Like last year's did not feel like a DNOW was supposed to feel. Students weren't even engaged with it. They were, we're here, we're trying.
Yeah.
But it was still, there was a barrier. And I feel like those barriers were not there this time.
No. It brought, I got to come to one of the worship sessions because, I was
You're everywhere.
I was everywhere. And so I made
omnipotent is what you omnipresent is what
omnipresent,
you were.
yeah. Because I'm setting up the food and then doing all the stuff, and I had an awesome volunteer team. But Saturday night I said, I'm going. We had a little bit of time after dinner, got it cleaned up real quick. So I was able to go in to hear the worship service, hear Rob speak, and just watching the kids, because he would call them to prayer and everybody's arms goes around their neighbors. And And it
just showed you, they were doing that from day one. And it just showed you that they were ready for something too. Like they were spiritually engaging already from night one.
Yeah.
It was good to see.
And it's just that visual picture of the body being in agreement.
Yeah.
And when we agree, good things happen.
Right. I'm going to say and then I had a student come out of that, not while we were at DNOW, but right after DNOW came to me and said, they were thinking about baptism and things because of DNOW. And so there's conversations even happening now, which is always great to see, just continual, just spiritual hangover is a bad word for it, but there's continual work being done by the Spirit based on what they were experiencing there in that moment. And I would rather it not be out of the experience that they have these sort of emotional highs where they are like, oh, I'm ready to be baptized now or whatever. I would rather them take a day, take 24 hours, take 48 hours, take a week, think about it, let's pray about it. And then you come back when God is still working in your heart. And that's what's happening. So I'm getting to have all those conversations too now on the back end of DNOW, and it's incredible. That's the win for me every time.
And that's our goal, like you talked about with our team. Our goal is to grow these students spiritually. And so if it's, they learn something, or if they're taking that step of faith for the first time.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. So DNOW was amazing, but it was also while we were on a 2-week hiatus. But also while we were out, we know this. You might not know, the listener. Linda went with Mickey Mouse on a cruise.
I did. Right after DNOW, I had to go.
Well-deserved cruise.
It was so timely because we came off of DNOW and then we left just a few days later. It was me and my husband and our 2 boys and my parents and my husband's parents, and then my husband's sister and her husband have 4 boys. So we loaded, all 14 of us.
They filled the whole cruise. They rented the whole cruise ship.
Was the cruise.
That was it. We loaded up and went down to New Orleans and got on a Disney cruise. and set off for days.
And, all right, so give me the highlights of the cruise.
Highlights. So,
because all right, so also you need to know, this was coming off of like stomach virus hit the Hildebrand house hard.
Yes, like it was
the week of the cruise.
Yeah, so D-Now, the Friday.
Actually, the week of D-Now. Yeah. Sorry, every parent that's about to hear this.
I know, but like, so Friday morning of D-Now, I get a text from my husband that my oldest son is throwing up, and I'm like, that was not what I needed
not
to hear.
Today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. But Satan was doing it today. And so my boys were going to my parents anyway for the weekend because me and Eric were going to be so immersed in D-Now. So shout out to my parents for being rock stars for that whole weekend. They didn't say, no, we're not bringing this on. But so then sequentially the rest of it, I did not. Like, I somehow managed to stay well, but the other three fell and then recovered. By the time Thursday morning rolls around for us to go on the cruise, everybody's got it together enough to get on the cruise. And so we get down to New Orleans, and now to get on to the cruise, you have to test at the dock for COVID. So we're doing a rapid COVID test, and we get cleared, and we get up to...
It's nerve-wracking.
I know, like, so I'm like, I am wound tight.
Yeah.
And so our COVID tests come back negative. We get up to where we're doing our passports and everything, and they scan my passport, and an alert pops up.
Okay.
And I was like, the lady's like, oh, there's an alert on your account. Hold on. And she's... Scroll. I'm like, I'm sweating, I'm pale. And she was like, oh, happy birthday. Because it was my birthday.
Because it's Disney, and why wouldn't they?
We left on my birthday. And so I said, her name was Janice. I said, Janice, you're about to have me falling out right here in the terminal.
Janice, don't do that. Just get me on this boat.
Don't play with me, Janice. But then, like, everybody comes around to wish me a happy birthday. And so that was the fun part. Because, when you get older... Like, I turned 34, so you get older. Birthdays aren't quite as fun, but still fun in a celebration. So I had my birthday.
You just told the whole world how old you are.
And you're 34 as well.
Well, but I'm not a woman. Women don't like to do that. I'm 34 and proud, girl.
The 30s have been my decade. We'll talk about that later. But so I had my birthday pin that they had ready for me.
Oh, okay.
So walking around the boat, I've got my birthday pin.
I wish you would have worn that in.
I should have. I wore Carson's little Hawaiian shirt, so because I don't have my own. But so everybody's like making a big deal.
Carson's how old?
Carson is 7.5.
Carson is 7.5, and she's able to. This tells you what a giant boy Carson is. Takes after his dad, but
he does. I mean, he hits like right up at my chin, and he's 7.5. But. So they're making a big deal about my birthday everywhere I go. And it was just, it's that Disney magic that just makes it fun.
When that Disney magic hits.
It's exciting. And then, you got ice cream anytime you want. You're just walking by, hit me with that ice cream cone. But big highlight, we sailed to Cozumel. And we had planned ahead of time to do a stingray excursion. Mm-hmm. So we get off the boat, we take a taxi down to the beach, and we're going to get to swim with stingrays, feed stingrays, all this. Their barbs they had trimmed their barbs down, so it's kind of like a fingernail. They had trimmed it down, so they're not going to hurt you.
So you're not going to get crocodile hunted.
No, and I learned that the barbs are not venomous. It's just like a mechanical stab.
Yeah.
But when it goes through your heart, it's
that's
over.
What happened to Steve Irwin.
I know.
Yeah.
I thought their barbs had venom.
Were you around? I mean, do you remember this? Yeah.
I thought the barbs were venomous.
That broke my heart. Man, I'm going to tell you what. We went into mourning. Like, I was we were like in 10th grade, something like that.
I think he died in 2006, so we were seniors.
Oh, yeah, maybe our senior year. I just remember that was a dark day.
Yeah.
For the world. Like, there's a few people that have died in this world that, the whole world kind of recognizes. Steve Irwin.
He was one of them.
He was one of the most beloved figures.
And you watch, his family has a show, and you can go on Discovery Plus and watch the original Crocodile Hunter Diaries, which my kids love, and I love it. But you're watching them, and you're like, oh, man, this would be so cool if he was still alive.
Yeah, I could do a whole slice on this. Like, all right, so as much as I love space, I also love animals. So Steve Irwin was one of my guys, but much better than the other guy, the guy who just didn't do it for me. I forgot his name.
Jack Hanna.
Jack Hanna. Yeah. Jack Hanna seemed fake, man. He's fake, but. But Bindi Irwin, his daughter, had a baby, right?
Yeah.
And she got a tattoo in honor of her father. Did you see this?
No.
Hey, get ready. It'll make you cry. She got a tattoo of an alligator. Like, I forgot exactly what the tattoo is, but anyway, it was basically a tattoo of an alligator or a crocodile. It kind of like was about taking care of them from wherever he is, right? In heaven or whatever. It was a really moving, touching little thing. And as much as I love, like, I don't love tattoos for the sake of tattoos, but tattoos that are meaningful, like, give me some of that.
Yeah.
And so anyway.
Well, she named her daughter. Her daughter's name is Grace Warrior Irwin.
Warrior.
And then whatever I forget what her last name is. Powell, I think is her last name or something like that. But
yeah.
Like, because her dad was a wildlife warrior. It's like, but how cool? Like, not that I blame my parents, but warrior is much cooler than Linda.
So anyway, your stingrays though weren't going to get you.
Weren't going to get us, but they were big. They were probably the size of this table.
Did one so there's that really funny picture that went viral of that one that jumped on that girl's back that time. Did any of them like jump on you?
No, we were in about like hip high water.
Do you know what picture I'm talking about? Okay.
Where it's
and it's like smiling for the picture. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay,
yeah.
All right. It's like the most perfect stingray picture ever.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It's cute. It's cute.
Just precious.
But that one girl is like losing her mind.
Well, I probably would have if one had just like come up on my shoulders, especially since I'm in waist high water. Like,
that would have been quite the leap. Quite the leap.
Like, oh gosh. But so my kids are two very different personalities.
Yeah.
And Carson, the oldest, he's just like, let me at him. And he's straight into the water. And then my little one he talks a big game, but he gets there and he's like, no, I'm not going in the water. I'm not going in the water. So finally we get him down in the water because Eric's holding him. And then Eric falls in the water.
Oh no.
So now so he's just immersed in the water, which he was like,
sorry, I was trying to keep you away from the stingrays. Now you are in with them.
Now you are on a stingray. And so that was
so he believed, right?
So that's where we pet and we got to feed him, and then we go snorkeling with stingrays and nurse sharks and then all these kind of different fish, and that was neat.
Oh yeah, that sounds amazing.
Carson's all in it. Pierce
That'd be Kinsley's nightmare.
Yeah.
Like literal nightmare.
Well, I was late to the party because I'm dealing with Pierce, he wants to wear his flippers, but he doesn't want to get in the water, whatever. So
are you a water person? Okay.
I like it where I can see.
I'm a water person.
If I can see it. Now, when we go to the beach, it's going to be, I have to see my feet on the bottom. I won't go any deeper because I need to be able to check my periffs and see what's coming at me.
See, I want to get a flashlight and go into the abyss.
Pass. Hard pass. So I'm swimming out and I turn and here comes this like 9-foot nurse shark. Like, where did it go? And then I didn't see where the sharks went.
She a big girl. And I did not see where the sharks went after this. So now I'm like, you know where they are.
I know there's like 4 of them.
They're under you. Is when you don't see them, they're under you.
And so it was funny because the guide who was out there, he had his floating cooler of fish, and my nephews and Carson, they're all under 10, and they were like, "Where are the sharks? Get the sharks out!" Well, the sharks all swim into
Get the sharks out.
The sharks all swim into this corner, so he has to swim down and like shoo them out of the corner, and they just do.
Y'all
a loop
are still
and go back.
in an enclosed thing.
It's in the ocean, but it's fenced off.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's like a event thing, but it's fenced off, so they're not going anywhere. And
they herd them in there like sheep.
Yes.
Okay. I've got a mental picture here.
It's a rehabilitation facility.
Yeah.
Which they
tourist
say,
trap is what we call
it.
There's a word for that over here.
They say that they rehab them and then put them back out, but I don't know. But
guarantee every one of them get eaten by bigger, badder sharks once they release them.
100%.
100%.
But they had a baby shark.
Speaking of, we watched Jaws the other day. Camden watched Jaws for like 5 minutes. It was awesome.
Yeah. Maybe I can do that after the cruise.
I showed him all the parts of Jaws that weren't Jaws eating people.
That's good.
And he was amazed by this 25-foot shark. I had him at one time, like, so you got Quint on the boat. This is, I'm not going to steal all this, but you got Quint, who's the boat driver. Like, he's the captain of the boat. And, like, Hooper, the college guy, who's, like, wanting to research the shark. And, like, at one point, like, he's hollering at Hooper, and then I start saying, "Get him, Hooper, get him." And then Camden, for the rest of the day, was like, "Get him, Hooper, get him." Hooper, come on. Anyway, so Jaws, yeah, my 5-year-old, he was, like, impressed with the size of Jaws.
Yeah. Probably a reason I like to see what's coming at me in the ocean.
But I guarantee you, all those nurse sharks, they're like, "Go free now, nurse sharks." They don't last.
No.
5 minutes out there.
I mean, kind of like the barbless stingrays. Like,
I mean,
get out them in their defenseless. So we snorkel. It was fun. And so we're on our way back, and my 4-year-old, who has not touched the water, he's like, "Did you see how fast I was riding the back of that stingray?" I was like,
he went somewhere else.
In your mind, is that... So he's probably in preschool right now being like, "I was riding the back of a stingray." And I'd be like, "Really?" Like, yeah.
Ooh.
But
the mental picture I have is great.
Yeah. Because if you see him out there, which I'll have to put some pictures up, he's wearing like a bucket hat and sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so cute. And then he's just like riding the back of a stingray.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so in his mind, he rode the back of a stingray really quickly. But I got to hold him. Like, I got to hold the stingray.
Okay.
And they're real smooth.
Yeah.
They're super smooth. And apparently, if they eat their wings, like they're hunted, and people will...
People do, not
Yeah.
the stingrays.
Yeah.
I thought the stingrays were eating their own wings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, hold up. I don't know
times
this.
Times get tough in the
That's what I
stingray
was
world.
like, oh, wait.
That's how they
a second.
survive in the wild.
Like, people eat them, and it's
That's
like
hardcore.
like a different menu item.
Yeah.
That it's like,
Well, it's the same thing as shark. They're made out of the same stuff as shark fins.
Yeah, it's
and
cartilage.
And people eat shark fins. Like, there's shark fin soup that's popular in other parts of the world.
I don't eat shark fins.
I'm just saying, like
I'm
you
not a
can-
Somebody.
Yeah, like, I don't think America promotes that, but you can in like Asian countries. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah, if you
I would
watch Shark
definitely
Week,
try
man, watch Shark Week. They talk all about shark fin soup.
we'll do a Shark Week episode.
We will have to
Shark
when
Week.
when
There you
July
go.
comes around and Shark Week happens. We're going in on the sharks.
Because we missed it a few years ago when our boy The Rock was like hosting Shark Week.
Oh, that's right, he did. Yeah, but the best was when Shaq hosted it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the best Shark Week.
Shark Week.
I want to see Snoop on Shark Week.
Yeah.
You get Snoop and Kevin back and back.
Yeah.
like
Hey,
that.
shout out to Snoop and Kevin if y'all could do Shark Week.
Or come on the podcast. That'd be great too.
Yes. Start here, warm up.
I would have Shaq on this podcast right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you want at any moment you want to come on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, just watching them dump big giant Shaq into that like
Yes.
shark cage and stuff was hilarious. Like, I don't even know how they found a wetsuit big enough for Shaq, but it happened.
But
So-
no, it was a blast, and
You're back.
We're
You're
back.
still feeling a little.
I do. So if you see me grab the table,
It's like trying to center my equilibrium.
I know.
here.
I still feel like I'm kind of rocking a little bit. I was at the gym this morning on a bench and like jerked myself. Like I thought I was about to roll off of. But I'm getting there.
That's funny. Have you ever been on like a treadmill or something for so long, like you get off and you feel like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gonna move you, like you're like, whoa, stop me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Everything's still coming at you and you're not moving. Your brain's not there.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a weird feeling.
It is.
It's a
And
weird
that's
feeling.
because I did not like, I don't get motion sick. Like,
Yeah.
I do fine. But I said, this is the most unsteady I've felt, and I'm back on solid ground.
Yeah. So, as far as slices for me, I'll just do some quick hitters real quick, and then we're going to kind of get into our big deal topic.
Let's do it.
But all right, so first thing, there was a bear, okay, in California. All right, got named Hank the Tank. Okay,
Did I send
The
you the
tank
meme?
Bear.
you haven't, but I'm here for it. Like, send me everything you've got on Hank the Tank. All right, Hank the Tank was breaking into California homes and eating everything he could, but one thing that they said he loved was leftover pizza. He was getting all the leftover pizzas.
Me too, Hank.
Never
Me
attacked
too.
never attacked one person or pet. but Hank the Tank, and he's broken into well over 20 homes at this point. Okay, and he is like so elusive, but they say on cameras and say he's like at least a 500-pound bear, like. And they call him Hank the Tank, and he's my spirit animal. Like I love you.
That's what I was gonna send you.
Here's the problem though. They think Hank the Tank might be actually 3 different bears. Oh. And that makes me so sad. I'm like, I need this to be true. I need there to be one big fat ninja bear out there that can survive.
Instead of 3 big fat ninja bears.
Yeah. Like, I'd much rather there just be one.
At that point, they're a ninja clan.
Yeah. Hank's the Tanks.
Hank's the Tanks.
And that's an even bigger problem.
Hank, Frank, and Spank the Tanks. What? I couldn't think of anything else that rhymed with tank at the time. But I need...
nothing.
I need it to be true. So that's number one. Like, I'm here for all updates, Hank the Tank. So all memes, all updates, let me know where Hank is, how he's doing. I hope they never get him, because if they get him, they're going to have to, at the very least, because he's so popular, they're not going to let it be a Harambe kind of situation. They're not going to put him down, I don't think, because he's not attacked anybody. But what they do with bears, I don't know if you know what they do with bears that do this. So if a bear is getting into trouble, breaking into homes or cars or things like that, trying to be all human-like, they'll trank them. They'll take them way out in the middle of a national park and let them go, and they tag them. And if that bear gets into trouble again, he breaks into another house or attacks somebody or whatever, they have to put him down at that point.
It's like bear parole.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a lot like they put that bear on probation, and then if he makes trouble again, that's his last strike. But hopefully, as long as he doesn't attack anybody, Hank, I need you to be good, buddy. I need you to be good.
If Hank the Tank is listening, if you're in getting you some pizza and happen to hear this podcast, we'll send you a pizza, Hank.
Somebody's Alexa. All right, second hit. Today is Fat Tuesday. It's been Mardi Gras this past weekend and everything. Tomorrow will be Ash Wednesday, and then that starts Lent, right? Just wanted to throw this out there. Anybody do anything special for Lent? Do you ever participate in giving something up for Lent? Anything like that?
No, I don't.
I haven't.
So, okay, all right.
Do you?
Usually.
You do?
Yeah, I do. Usually. Just because, it's a good spiritual rhythm to get in.
What are you doing?
I'm not sure this year. This year. So I'll let you know.
You got one day.
I got one day to decide, but I got a lot of things. I'm like gonna settle on a thing. Cool. Don't know quite what that is yet, but I don't. But I don't do the other things. I don't like party on Mardi Gras or Fat Tuesday or anything like that. I just kind of keep it chill. Have you ever been down to like Mardi Gras in Mobile or New Orleans or anything like that?
That's where I was yesterday.
Yes,
well, that's right. You rolled through there.
Yeah.
It's that time.
You saw all that.
Granted, we were in and out of New Orleans pretty early in the day, so everybody was kind of chill. But that was the reason we were like, we've got to get on the road and get out because today's Fat Tuesday. But we saw some of the floats.
We got to get out of here.
We got to get out of here. But some of the floats were at the dock parking garages where they pull them out every day for the Mardi Gras parades. So we saw some of the floats, and my parents had gone down the day before, so they went to a Mardi Gras parade.
Mobile claims it. Did you know that?
Yeah,
Mobile's like, we're the original. New Orleans just psyched it out. It's like...
I remember looking into that at one point because they do a bunch of Mardi Gras stuff over in Mid-City. They're the people who run that. Yeah. They're from New Orleans. They brought them up here to do this.
Gotcha.
Oh.
They bring up the Mardi Gras Indians and all the food and the king cake and all...
King cake bothers me. I want it to be better than it is.
Like the cake itself? Or
the cake
concept?
itself.
Yeah. Okay. It's like an overrated croissant.
An overrated croissant.
The one I had up here is pretty good.
And there's a baby in it.
Maybe. Depends on what part of the...
Yeah.
There might be a baby in it, depending on what piece you get.
Well, there's a baby in there.
Yeah.
Not a real baby, everybody. A plastic baby. Which is always weird. Like, I don't know the story of it. Do you know the story? Can somebody help me out?
No.
What's the baby? Why is there a baby stuck in the cake?
I don't know.
Is it the birth narrative? I don't really know.
I don't know.
What
well,
this is.
I think, like, what I've heard, I don't know why it's in there, but if you get the baby, you have to bring the king cake the next year.
Yeah, it's on you to bring the king cake. If
it signifies epiphany.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Thanks, Google.
It also signifies you bring the cake next year.
That's exactly what it says.
That's
They're
the
charged
epiphany.
responsibility
Is
of bringing
you
the
get
cake.
So there's king. If you enjoy king cake, more power to you. I just don't love it. You know,
it's not my favorite.
I never get the baby because I get like just a small little like okay, all right. But if you want to party like it's New Orleans, apparently go to Mid City, and they're gonna have it for you. Third thing, last quick hitter, and this is gonna be sort of our transition into what we want to talk about. Elon Musk, man, love this guy, love him. Wish he would meet Jesus, but otherwise love him.
On this side of heaven, meet Jesus before you meet Jesus.
Yeah, meet Jesus before.
Let me clarify what Joseph's trying to say here.
Meet Jesus as Savior, not Judge.
Yes,
let's do it that way. But so there's we're gonna talk. We're about to start talking about the war in Europe, and part of that was Ukraine is asking for a lot of help, and somebody from Ukraine reached out to Elon Musk and was like, "Hey, can you help us?" Or I don't know exactly what the message to him was, but his response was yes. And all of a sudden, he gets his Starlink satellites to boost Ukraine's internet so that they're not losing out on communication sources and all. Ukraine still has a good level of networking available to them, even though Russia is coming down hard on them. And I'm like, Elon Musk is 24 hours. He can just get it done.
It's amazing.
And it's amazing, right? Yep. Love Elon Musk. I did see something about he built a new plant or something was going on. I wish I would have read more about it so I could have more to talk about. But just talking about it, he apparently had a plant where they were doing something, and somebody was like, there's going to be a problem with water with this plant. He's going to be using too much water, or there's not going to be enough water that will run this plant, or whatever it is. Anyway, and he was like, nah. And then he ran out of water. It's one of those situations where he wanted to get something done, so he kind of ignored the warnings. Elon Musk is a doer. He's not, he's a get it done kind of guy. I appreciate that kind of person. So,
but yeah, I did see about him sending the satellites.
Yeah. And so I just thought that was cool. It's like he'll get it done if he believes in it. So for sure. And we just need more people like that, right? We need more people like that.
We need more richest people in the world.
To
just throw their weight around.
Well, we need the people who have the resources to be willing to
do it.
Instead of sitting on their mountain of wealth, or buying a new yacht or a new mansion. Elon Musk is doing all those things, but he's also, he's philanthropic.
What was it? Not too long ago, probably a couple of years now. He ended up selling all of his houses and moved in this little tiny thing in Texas.
And he's doing that so that he can fund all this other stuff he wants to do.
He's bought another house since then.
I'm sure. Listen. One of the things that keep you wealthy is learning how to invest, and I'm sure real estate is one thing that he's continuing to make money on constantly. So he's probably buying and selling property regularly. And probably some he doesn't even know. He probably has a real estate guy that does it for him, and all he sees is the bottom line number going up and up and up. So. It'd be nice to be him, right?
Be nice.
It would,
or even nice. Just be his real estate guy.
Or even his real estate guy.
We could be his youth pastors.
Hey, when how do you say his kid's name?
A-E, there's something.
It's like Xenon or something like that. I don't know what it is. But it's not A. It's like a weird A. I don't know.
It's just X.
X.
We'll call him Little Musk. And
Baby Musk.
When Baby Musk is a teenager, send him our way. We'll pour into him. We'll take him to D now. So.
It'll be the best.
It will be the best. You want to talk about? We bought a whole bunch
host home. I mean, we had some pretty ballin' host homes, but it's like, okay, 10th grade girls, y'all are going to be at the Musk's house.
Which is at which they have a space station, so we're going to fly you.
Yeah.
We're going to Texas. We're going to take you over to the Space and Rocket Center and launch you.
Yeah. And, you can meet us on the back for the helicopter. It'll take you over to
Elon has found out how to teleport, so you just step on this pad and you'll be back.
Oh, man. Anyway, it would be insane to have somebody like that in your church that's just like casually like, oh yeah, I'll host a group for D now. I can imagine my brain is starting to turn now, and that would be pretty fun.
So, shout out to our families if anyone.
If any of you are secret ballers,
I know.
Fly a group out for D now.
Y'all let me know
5 times a day.
Let me know.
Yeah. But speaking of that, and the whole reason that was popularized was because of this war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. So I know that this is a big topic with the world right now. Americans are in on it, even though we're not in the war yet. There's a lot of positioning that we're having to do to make sure that we're kind of taking a stand where we will be and won't be, but at the same time also like getting ready in case this thing comes to us, and we have to get involved somehow. So all of that is sort of getting rolled up into the right and wrong of this war and the personalities involved in this war, the history and what that means for the future, all of these things. And I'm sure that it's a topic with our students. And it's not just about who's going to drop the nuke or who's going to, what's the big thing that's going to happen, because there's a lot of intricate details. So you've been on a cruise.
I have.
Did the war break out while you were on the cruise?
It did.
Yeah.
So on our way driving.
This is like The Terminal. You ever seen The Terminal with Tom Hanks? Have you seen that? Oh my gosh. Watch that movie. He flies. So he lives in a little place like Romania, somewhere like that. I think it might be a made up country, but it's like one of those Eastern European countries. He's flying to America while he is in the air on the way to America. His country gets overthrown by another country, and it's no longer like his citizenship is no longer valid. Like because it's a different country now. And so when he lands in America, they won't let him into America because technically his country of origin doesn't exist. So he's stuck living in the terminal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not for everybody, but it's a good movie to me. I think it's hilarious. Anyway. So you were on a cruise ship.
I was, and we're driving down, and Eric does like day trading with the stocks. So he's on his phone, and he's like, the market is just plummeting. He said Russia must have invaded, and then it starts like popping up that Russia invaded, and then we get on a cruise ship, and we're gone.
And forget all about it, because Mickey and you're on the most magical cruise ship in the world.
So we're not getting any information about it. And so I would, like, every now and again, I would catch like a little bit here and there, like hear people talking or whatever.
I've never been on a cruise. Like, what is the information on a cruise? Like, do you have access to the outside world on a cruise?
I didn't pursue much access to the outside world. I
don't blame you.
Disney has an app, which was really cool, that has a messaging feature.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, when you get on the ship, you turn on your airplane mode, you log into this specific Wi-Fi network, and then you use their app.
Gotcha.
That and that's how you communicate, and it's got all of your information on it. And like, I never turned on the news. Like,
okay.
I didn't need that in my life while I was on the most magical cruise. But like, I think you can have access to the outside world. Every now and again, I would catch a text message. I couldn't respond to them, but I could read them.
It would come through.
Through, but
WhatsApp is great for that.
Yeah.
That's what, like, international travel, WhatsApp is the place to go.
But nobody was sending me any information about Ukraine. So when I got back yesterday,
they just didn't feel like that was pertinent to you.
That was not pertinent. Time. Like, I got a text from you. One of yours came through.
I don't even know what I would have. I've tried to leave you alone.
No, you were responding to somebody else.
It was like,
else.
Get to work, Linda.
Yeah, it's like, where are you?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You had responded to somebody else, and then like I would get, like, I didn't get anything disastrous that needed. I got one text that needed my attention, but just didn't get it, and they had to work it out themselves. But
sometimes people can do it themselves.
They can, they can. But so yesterday when I got back, like trying to catch up on the news and what all had gone on.
So, one thing that interests me all the time is like this idea of war from a justice perspective and a theological perspective. Like, it's an interest topic to me. And, it's not like war is not in the Bible. Like, there's plenty of wars and plenty justified by God himself. So you have to sort of start thinking through war from like a Christian perspective. And I think this is where it's going to hit a lot of our audience is like, what do we think about this? Because a lot of people, and God bless the Ukrainian people, like they're really standing strong. Like they're standing their ground out there. And Russia seems like this powerhouse of a country, but really from what I've seen, yeah, they probably have the technology, weaponized technology, but their people are poorly trained, they're poorly equipped, poorly fed. Kinsley was just reading an article just this morning, actually, of like the Ukrainians, like they stole a tank from Russia. And once they opened it up and got in there and everything, they found all these food rations, and they were like expired like in 2015 or something like that. So it's like the Russians are like poorly fed, poorly resourced. They're just thrown out there and told, go get them. And, you're hearing all these accounts, and I don't know what's true and what's not as far as, we're hearing certain sides of the story all the time. But from what we're hearing is like a lot of these like captured Russians are like 18, 19 years old and not even real sure what the conflict is about. And they've just been told to go and do. And then they've gotten themselves captured or killed, not even knowing what they're supposed to be doing out there. And it's incredible. And you've got Vladimir Putin, who I'm pretty sure he was already guilty of war crimes before this war, but for sure now he's being, he's racking up a list of war crimes.
Oh yeah, I saw that they were looking. The news said like they're looking to see if he has committed any war crimes. I'm like, if
and that's the thing. Like, unlike most every war before this one, at least for Europe anyway, like everything's on video. Like, Kinsley's following a certain celebrity who is Ukrainian descent, American citizen, but was in Ukraine at the time everything started going down. And he's like live, like Instagramming everything, showing everybody what's going on. And like, there's a video of like this guy trying to get in his car and leave, and a Russian tank goes out of its way to just run this car over. It's like, and they're targeting civilians like that. Yeah. There's video after video of like airstrikes on civilian apartment buildings and like hospitals, things like that, things that are frowned upon by the United Nations and NATO. And so one thing that, America's government had to be, that we had to go through international courts like for years and years and years because of the war in Iraq, things like that, because we had to make sure that, as far as soldiers are concerned, like they've got, if they pull the trigger, like an American soldier, a NATO country pulls the trigger on an enemy force, like every trigger pull, there's like a mountain of paperwork that has to be done because of that. It's like, if there's a life lost, it has to be justified. And I read a lot of like I said, this is one of my things that I like. And I remember reading American Sniper, one of the most popular of these kind of books by Chris Kyle. And, in that book, he's talking about like all these things that go through his head is not just, am I going to live or die? Am I going to protect somebody by firing this bullet or whatever? Like, he's also thinking, do I have all the boxes checked to do this? Or am I going to be put in prison for the rest of my life because I shot this guy or whatever? And that was even harder because the enemy wasn't wearing a uniform. Now Russia's rolling in and like, we're Russian, and they're kind of doing their thing. I don't necessarily know the full history between Ukraine and Russia. I know I know a little bit of why Ukraine is important, and I know that they declared their independence from Russia. It was a whole civil war type deal. And now Putin is like, we never recognized them as an independent state, and now we're going to get them back. So there's that, and you're like, well, they're independent. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the heroism of the Ukrainians. Yeah.
That's been the story. That's been the story,
especially President Zelensky. All right. He is a legend that is growing and growing and growing. So have you seen all this since you've been back?
Yeah. Have you seen, I saw it floating around yesterday, the picture of him and his family, and he's got like a superhero face paint.
I haven't seen that.
it was what I was reading about it. It's like, talking about like how different he is from Putin, and like, don't put my pictures in your office. A president is not someone to be, with the pictures and all that. But it was talking about like how he just looks like a regular family man.
It's the absolute difference between what you want in a president versus an authoritarian dictator.
Yes.
So yeah, go with that.
But like it's this picture of his family, and it looks like a kid's birthday party because he's got face paint, and one of the little kids is dressed up, and it's talking about like, the danger he's put himself in for the cause.
Yeah.
And, his bravery in that, like standing for what he believes is right.
Yeah, and this is what, if I ever speak to like, especially guys, but I mean, I'll say the same thing to girls when I speak to groups of girls or whatever. But one thing that I always is one of my favorite topics to speak about to guys is just integrity. And the integrity that he is showing is incredible. Like I want it framed and put somewhere where like the quote of, the Americans were saying, hey, we can get you out of Ukraine. We can, we can send a group. We can get you out of there. We can export you to wherever safety might be and whatever. Anyway, his quote coming back to them, I don't know if you've seen this, was, I don't need a ride. I need supplies. And it was just like, come on now. Like he was like, I don't, he's going to stay and fight. He's not going to agree to like be pulled out of Ukraine. And he was like, I need weapons, not a ride. And I'm like, yes, come on. And so like, then you've got all the photos of him like strapped up, ready to go. And, is he on the front lines? I don't know. But does it matter? Not really. I don't know of an American president that would just strap up and be like ready to fight for,
Like he's sticking with his people, which in a leader, like how important is that to see your leader there with you?
Right.
Like it's a morale booster.
Any underdog story in the history of war, right? For any reason that the smaller country with the fewer men or whatever, any reason that they won was usually because that leader was there in the midst of it, leading from within. And usually you see those with like the leader back in the safety of their capital, like yelling out orders or whatever. They're usually the ones that the people on the front lines don't quite have the motivation. But I think that's why we won the Revolutionary War, right? We had George Washington, all those guys, like, they're crossing the river ready to get it done. And, there's a lot to be said of that. And I think for our students to see, what real integrity and what real character looks like in the face of just complete and utter, like, just devastating odds. Like, it's not in Ukraine's favor at all.
No.
And just like the Snake Island guys. Did you see the Snake Island guys?
I saw a little bit about that
today. The 13 soldiers on Snake Island? Okay.
That they found.
They found them. They were captured, not killed. At first, everybody thought these 13 guys were like killed. Snake Island's a little place. It's like on the border there in Ukraine. I can't say everything that's said. There's a viral video out there, but Russia pulls up with its warships, and there's intercepted communication between Ukraine and the warship. Right, like it's recorded, and you can hear them talking to one another. Warship is saying, all right, you need to stand down. We're here. We're going to blow you away, basically. And the Ukrainian guy, I really want to just say it, but I can't. The Ukrainian guys are like, no, they're basically, it's almost like movie worthy, like that kind of comedy. They're sitting there. There's a couple of guys talking to one another. And one guy's like, sorry, I can't hear you very well. Let me turn the volume up. And then once he turns the volume really up, he gets really loud. And he's like, and then he asks the guy, should I go tell him this? And I'm not going to say what this is, just fill in the blank. And then he says, hey, Russian warship, why don't you? And then he says what he wanted to say. And you think immediately Russian warship probably just wiped him out. But anyway, apparently they were just captured, not killed. And so like these guys, I hope they get released at some point, because
that's what I saw.
They're some of my favorite people right now.
It's like these guys are the ones who told Russia to go do something and live to tell about it. Yeah. It's like, that's amazing.
That's basically Ukraine in a nutshell right now.
Yeah. Though. Right now, they're just like, I can't hear you, Russia. What?
What'd you say? Warship? It's so funny. And then, not vouching for the language that's in that video, but like to stand in the face of evil is what we're taught to do anyway. I'm not saying this is a Christian versus unchristian war.
No.
But I'm saying as Christians, like what we can learn from this and how we fight well against the forces of darkness that we do face, to stand in the face of it without fear is what we're called to do in a lot of ways. We look, our big thing is like, let's look to Revelation and find out like what all that's going to, look like. And there's going to be massive forces of darkness coming against the people of God. And eventually what I love, what I love in part of the scripture in Revelation is, at the end of the day, we are going to gather together and in the face of incredible evil and darkness, we're just going to sing. We're going to sing in the face of evil. And it's going to be one of the biggest slaps in the face that Satan ever gets. And then Jesus is going to kind of call it quits for him anyway. Until then, though, we're faced with these things, even on a minor level. Students are faced with this every day. Students are faced with people coming against them for their faith, but not even just for their faith, just because they're jerks and because they're bullies and things like that. And how do you do what's right? Like, is there a right way to fight and a wrong way to fight? And absolutely, yes. I think Ukraine is absolutely showing the best way to fight. Is like Ukraine did not attack. Ukraine did not. I mean, no person that you see the media portraying anyway. You never know what's going on, but there's always this ugliness to war. But something about the Ukraine and the way they're handling themselves, the personalities we get to see, the Zelensky and the Snake Island guys and all these whatever, like there's not been an ugliness of like, man, that's just evil fighting evil. This is like, these are people with high character and high integrity standing until the last moment. And standing their ground, and regardless of what they're going to face in the end, like we said, like the Snake Island guys, I thought for sure they were dead. It sounds like Putin has released he has sent like a massive unit of people out to try to kill President Zelensky, and he's still in there. He's still fighting side by side. Miss Ukraine. Yeah. Miss Ukraine has picked up her weapons and she's fighting for Ukraine. Did you see that?
No.
She's
not just a pretty face. Get out there.
She's getting after it. And so this is going to just shows you Ukraine is ready to fight to the end for what they believe in, an independent nation from tyranny. And there's not, even though it's not American, there's not a more American story than that. And I think there's just so much to love about it.
Yeah.
Not about the fact that it's happening, but about the way Ukraine is handling it.
I read a thing that it said if Russia stops fighting, the war's over. Yeah. But if Ukraine stops fighting, Ukraine is over.
Yeah.
And that's kind of Ukraine is just, they're not on an offense. They're just on a defense.
Yeah.
And here's what we're doing. And
they're just trying to keep their
land.
Country, yeah. But I think that's the thing is Russia will continue to push as far as the world will let Russia push. They're just one of those kind of countries.
Well, I mean, just look at the Olympics that just happened. How long has Russia been kicked out of the Olympics?
I mean,
and now it's the Russian Olympic Committee, or it's the athletes from Russia.
Yeah,
but they're still being shady.
Yeah,
they're.
This is ever since Rocky IV, we've known about Russia.
Oh, well, we knew about this.
I mean, Drago, come on, he was cheating.
But I think that's just representative of, Russia or people that we're going to encounter. They're just going to look out for number one. And
the world will never play fair with Christians.
No.
100%. So we've got to figure out how to stand strong. We've got to figure out how to fight, how to square up justly and rightly in the sight of God. Because there are ways to do it wrongly, right? I mean, we could list ways to fight evil with evil, but that's not what we're called to do.
No.
In a lot of ways, I think Ukraine is showing like what it looks like to turn the other cheek. Mm-hmm. I know it's like they're not just like being victimized by Russia, but at the same time, like Ukraine could have done a lot more ahead of time, probably to shore up their borders or make appeals to other countries to come and fight with them or whatever. But they were just letting Russia do what Russia was going to do until it was too late, until it was last moment. For us,
because they're not going to give Ukraine's not going to give Russia a reason to attack,
right?
As we shouldn't. Like,
well, and there's no for Ukraine that just spells doom and disaster on paper anyway.
Yeah.
We're seeing that might be Russia that's in trouble. I don't know. I don't see a way where Ukraine comes out of this winning this, but it could get, because of what America has done and all these other countries have done, we could cripple Russia's economy in such a way where it's such an expensive thing to do, to wage war. Russia just says it's not worth it anymore. We'll see. We'll see if that works.
Yeah. Did you see where our governor pulled Russian liquor from the ABC stores?
Yes.
Like a lot of states are doing that.
Like, listen, we're going
She's like,
back.
Pull it from the shelves. We're not even.
We're going back to Cold War times, I think.
Yeah.
Like, we're going back to where if it's from Russia or has a Russian accent, it's out of here.
Yeah.
It's so this celebrity that Kinsley follows, that's been the Ukrainian celebrity that has been kind of, sharing everything he possibly could. He also he's a celebrity in this show with other Russians, like that are Russian Americans that are in the show too. He called them out because they've all been silent. Like they know that he's like in Ukraine struggling with it, and he calls all his Russian co-celebrities out for not saying anything for or against Russia, and where these are celebrities that they post every day, something like they haven't posted in like 2 weeks. Now, what's that say? There's probably a lot of like they probably have family in Russia, things like that. So if they say too much, their family's in trouble, things like that. So you got to be like, well, what would you do? What is right? But at the end of the day, we got to do what is right. And because Ukrainians didn't have a choice, but they're choosing to do what's right. You have videos like fathers who are sending their wives and daughters out on trains because they've got to stay back and fight. And, it's like they're not trying to escape and all that. They're going to fight it out till the end. And I think there's a lot to learn about what it looks like to have integrity and character out of this, because we're being fed everything about this war. And so we're being able to see like there is a real dichotomy between the evil of what Russia's trying to do and, the character of the Ukrainians, especially like President Zelensky. I love that guy. I want him on the podcast. If he survives this, if everything kind of settles down, Caleb's going to call President Zelensky and have him on the podcast.
Download Duolingo right now.
Duolingo. He probably speaks English.
He does. It's a respect thing.
It's a respect thing.
Look, you've been through all this. I will learn enough to speak your language. I've done my part.
I'll learn a language.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So what are your thoughts
But
on this?
I think it's, you mentioned respect, and that's kind of my thought too. Like, I think it's so easy to get caught up in like an anti-Russian mindset, which, like, I'm not down with this, Putin. But there's,
I'm like a middle school boy when you start.
Which that's one of the best things about this is his name. Like,
well, and like also like all of our intelligence is saying he might not be playing with a full deck of cards.
Well,
they're saying Putin's kind of.
Tell me something I don't know.
Right. Well,
like
name a dictator, and I'll show you. Somebody with
a few bricks short of a full load.
Right. Yeah.
But this is kind of like this generation's 9/11 and Iraqi war that they're seeing play out, I feel like. But just in the span of this is the war that they're this is far from over.
Yeah.
I feel like this is far from over, and this is going to grow to a larger scale.
Right.
But I think it's also something like we dealt with that, like anti-Middle Eastern and the prejudice and the judgment. Like,
yeah.
Because being where this is a very diverse area, not very diverse area, but this is a diverse area
for Alabama.
It is.
For Alabama,
and when we run into people who are Russian and all this, like they're the grace. I always like to bring it back to the grace aspect. We have to have
a student who yeah.
And I remember I had a friend in middle school who was Middle Eastern, and like they went through it, changed their names.
Wow.
Had to change their names because of the threats and things that their family was going through. And it's important to remember that not all Russians are bad. Not all Ukrainians are good, which I don't think there's a problem with Ukraine right now, but but like at the end of this, what's this going to look like on the other side?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I mean, well, Europe has a history of war, so they deal with it a little differently than we would. I mean, honestly, we're relatively new compared to Europe.
But when this is over, there's going to be so much hurt and damage in these countries that even people in Russia are going to need help. Like there are some that are just caught up
to end this. There's going to be somebody's going to get ousted. Either it's going to be the Ukrainian government, they get pulled into Russia again, or like Putin is no more. Like I don't see an end to this where Putin retains his authority. I think you're going to have NATO and the rest of the European and American nations are going to come at him and say, it's like time to remove this guy.
And then what?
We don't know what China's going to do. North Korea is getting kind of froggy out there. Like they just launched a new missile that we're testing it. And I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Sit down, North Korea. Hold on. Well, that's what
you don't think like their first chance they're just going to bomb somebody. Like they're going to bomb somebody
just to get in on it.
Yeah,
well, it said
they're itching to go.
Experts say China is not about to invade Taiwan. I didn't even know China was threatening Taiwan. Like, are they just kind of sliding
always.
under the
first? That's like when a college football coach says, "I am not going to that place."
Yeah, I'm leaving Oxford in a pine box.
The next headline you get is so and so just hired a new head coach.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
But it's like, who knew?
Listen, I mean,
who knew?
This thing goes a lot deeper than just Russia and Ukraine. You said that earlier. And so that's why America, like a lot of people that don't quite understand the intricacies of international relations, they don't understand why we're not just like loading up and going. And it's because like the minute we do something, it's World War III, not just Ukraine and Russia. Yeah. And the minute we do something, like all of a sudden China's got to pick a side. Yeah. China's not siding with America.
No.
North Korea is going to pick a side, and they're not siding with America. And who knows what other countries decide to make a difficult decision. And so you would have Russia, China, and North Korea, and who knows who else. That's quite the surface area of this world.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you look at Russia's land, which granted a lot of it is uninhabitable, but right. That is what it is. But it's like the landmass and the number of people.
Yeah. It's but I tweeted this and several people were like, yes, this is true. Like, is there a more evil sounding place than the Kremlin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Russia's capital building,
Red Square.
And Red Square. Like, I mean, they just embrace the evil, though. I've never seen a place just like China tries to be like, no, we're not evil. Yeah. Like, we're good. But like,
Russia's like,
Kremlin. We are Russia. Come at me. It's like, we laugh at Russia, like Russia TikTok videos and stuff like that, where they're like arm wrestling bears. I showed somebody the arm wrestling bear video.
You showed it to me.
Yes. They're arm wrestling a bear. Like, whatever. Like they're feeding the bear honey to keep it docile, and they're all lined up to arm wrestle this bear. It's like only in Russia, right? But it's like you got guys like that, but I don't know that they're the guys fighting for Russia right now.
I don't think the Russian TikTok stars are the ones out on the front lines.
Definitely not.
So
they're still back arm wrestling their bears.
Yeah. So to sort of bring it back around to like what can we do? What's our response is, I think we need to just think of it like when you are approaching, when evil is in your face, when something bad is happening in your situation, whatever the context might be, it is always better, always, to tell the truth. Because all right, so we had a conversation with a student not long ago of like they were telling like two separate stories to different people, and I'm like, the truth is always better, because now what you've got is, regardless of who you told the truth to, you got two people that are mad at you now because somebody got lied to. Either the truth was I did a bad thing, but the lie was I didn't do the bad thing. It's trying to be like whatever. So it's like, if the truth is you did the bad thing, you got people mad at you. If the truth is you didn't do the bad thing, or if the person who you told the lie to finds out that that's a lie, then you're in trouble again. I was like, just the truth is always better than the lie. And always, I would say always try to do everything you can not to fight, not to lash out towards the evil thing, towards the bad thing that's happening. But I don't think Jesus ever called us to be a victim. We talked a little bit about this when we did our very first podcast, I think the gun rights episode.
I thought we talked about this.
And it was just like turning the other cheek is not about being a victim, but it's about standing for what's right and showing who you really are to whoever it is that's trying to abuse you or persecute you. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, because that's the difference, and that's what we talked about in that episode. That's the difference between the world and Christ followers is our response.
Yeah, and students are having to every day respond to this situation on a very, very, very minimal scale. Like, we're not going to war every day, but it's a spiritual warfare for sure. And students are lining up every day trying to say, I want to be a Christian, but I have all of this against me. And so how do I do that? How do I face all of this adversity without either being tied in with it, because here's the other thing. Ukraine could have been like, they had the option to peaceably just
turn over,
be Russian. Yeah. Most all of them have some sort of dual citizenship with Russia. Lots of Russians living in Ukraine. Lots of Ukrainians that got family in Russia. They could have just peaceably done that, but that wouldn't have been right for them. They would have been under this dictatorship that they thought was wrong, and they believed in their independence, and they want to be, they've applied to be a NATO country, things like that. So there's our students are faced with like, do I just go with the flow and peaceably, do what they're asking me to do, or be like the abuser or the persecutor, be like the ones who are not like unbelievers or whatever that looks like. Or do I stand against it? And how do I stand against it in a way that's fair and right and just? And it's like, I would say, I don't want to just always bring things to like a physical thing, but like, the fact is like when you are pushed far enough, like, in high school, middle school, things get physical. I'm saying like, do everything possible to not do that. Do everything possible to not do that. But I would also say, and this is what I would teach. My dad taught me. I would teach my kids, like, listen, when you have to, stand your ground. Stand your ground. So anyway, you just hope it doesn't ever come to that.
Yeah. Because, we were discussing a situation with a group of kids, and there's substances involved. And it's like, there were a few that were like, nah, I'm getting out of here. And it's like, good job for you. Yeah. Like, good job for you.
Scripture tells us that God will always give us. Let me tell you what Scripture doesn't tell us. Scripture doesn't tell you that God will not let you get burdened with more than you can handle.
Sure enough.
That all right.
Said that.
But it does tell us that with every temptation and every sin, God will always give you a way out. Mm-hmm. There is always a way out. That's a truth from Scripture. Not that God won't give you more than you can handle. God will absolutely let you end up with more than you can handle because he wants you to rely on him.
Yeah, that's like we're always going to have more than we can handle.
Right. When it comes to temptation and sin, though, he will always give you a back door. There's always going to be a way out.
Yeah, because it's for his glory.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. I mean, how we respond to things is for his glory, and it points to him in our response, and that's something to see here. Like, as awful as this situation is, somewhere, something, it'll be brought to the glory of God.
And that's, like I said, it's not necessarily a Christian type of warfare or anything like that, but that is the beautiful thing about the Ukraine is you are seeing honor and integrity and heroism on a scale that we don't normally see in real life.
Yeah.
Hollywood portrays it. Like, this is a Hollywood type scene, right? Like, Hollywood is like, it tries to exaggerate and exemplify the hero and that story. We're seeing it in real life. And that's what I love is it's not made up and fictional. This is actually happening. And it's honorable to the nth degree. And I love it. So. And
on the scale of like our students, there's such a lack of integrity, I feel like, that they have the example of. But, doing the right thing when no one is looking.
Right.
But there's something to that. Like, I remember somebody explaining integrity as if everything you did was on the front page of the newspaper. And a newspaper is a thing you read. But it's on the front page.
We'll say it's on the news feed of Twitter.
Yeah, if it's on the news feed of Twitter, everything you did, you would not be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Like, you just make the right.
Yeah.
Make the right. All you really got to do is just do the next right thing.
Do the next right thing. Yeah. Coach Saban said something about this just not long ago. Coach Nick Saban for Alabama, he was talking about Henry Ruggs. And Henry Ruggs, if you're not familiar, wide receiver, NFL, was a huge asset to Alabama in his college days, went on to have a good start to an NFL career, but then drove under the influence of alcohol and killed someone going 156 miles an hour. Terrible story. He is now in prison. He will no longer have an NFL career, and when he gets out of prison, who knows what that life will look like at that point. Nick Saban was talking about leadership, how there was a lack of leadership in Ruggs' life. Like, he didn't have anybody in his life with the integrity and character enough to take his keys away or to say, no, you've drank too much or whatever that looks like. And we have to not only do leave the situation, but if we can possibly do something to better someone else's life, to do that. We're about to actually at midweek. We're talking about connections and making healthy connections, healthy friendships, things like that. And one of these weeks, we're going to go into Jude, where Jude tells us, stop your brother from sinning. Like, in doing so, you're literally going to pull someone from the fire. Like, there's someone that is like going down a bad path, a wrong trajectory in their life, and they're like headed, either, whether it's a heaven or hell situation, they are doing harm to themselves by continuing to live under this sin and temptation, whatever. Like, pulling them away from that will literally save not only their life, but who knows who else's life. So,
well, that's what Nate and Rhett were talking about when they were on here.
Yeah.
Like, going to each other and being like, so this is not, I see we're not making good choices here.
Right.
Like, I see we're not making good choices. What can we do about that? And that's the importance of having people around you who will speak truth into you. Whether it's, we'll tell you the truth all the time, but
that's leadership. That's integrity.
But having those people that aren't your yes men all the time.
Yeah.
It's important. It's very important.
So we're figuring out how to stand against evil in a just and good way, how to be heroic, but not just in the sight of the world, but stand with integrity and character when no one else around you will. It's a good thing to learn from. I mean, I think we're getting a glimpse of the nature and character of God, even in the midst of people who we don't know of as Christians. I think just we're seeing the gospel truth even in the middle of war. Anyway, keep paying attention. And if you haven't been paying attention, maybe look some stuff up. Look up President Zelensky and all that he's doing. I think it's great. So it's been good to be back on Figuring It Out.
Yeah.
And I think hey, send us your updates on Hank the Tank and his buddies.
Yep.
All the things. But
we'll just keep on praying for the people of Ukraine.
Keep praying for Ukraine and Russia and the rest of Europe, because who knows like how quickly this thing could bleed over into anything else. We would love to see just a divine peace fall on Europe. Any closing thoughts? That was good.
No, I don't think so.
Caleb?
Nothing.
What you got, man?
Nothing.
Over sitting at Mega Desk with your Mountain Dew. All right.
Caleb's just sitting back and listening. Like he stopped us when we need stopping. He's like, hold on.
Hold on. Well, speaking of listening, you got to listen, you got to like, you got to share the podcast. Otherwise, we're going to turn it off and say see you later. So anyway, but we haven't had to do that. We've had a good listening audience. We're appreciative of all of you. We've been blown away by the actual numbers we've seen on who's listening and watching. So keep doing that. Keep sharing it around. We'll see you next time on Figuring It Out.